era which begins from 1950 to 2000 AD on 2000. But see, it is said that the postmodernism is continuing, but sometimes they also say that there are various other nisms which have now in which are now in trend, such as post-humanism. Then then see, it's not, you cannot say that it is an era which is basically continuing, or it has completely evaporized. It is not so. It is said to be that postmodern is something which came in reaction to modernism, which came as an advancement of modernism. So whenever we are talking about modern era, we always see there were certain things which were not very well, like they were lamenting upon the separation and the segregation of the society, and the fragmentation was happening. Nobody was able to trust each other. They were constantly questioning each other, as you have seen Wasteland, like he is saying that this is a trap in which we are now, and we cannot move out of it. So postmodernism came as a reaction to it. So basically, just in a very layman's term, if I'll say that what is postmodernism, it is generally the acceptance. It is about the acceptance of the absurdity which is there. It is acceptance of the fragmentation which is there. Like it is constantly in agreement with the things which modernists wanted to do, but they were unable to do it because they were not very much akin to it. They were not ready to accept those changes which the world war has caused. So now postmodernism is now telling us that we have to accept all those things which are there, which has been changed due to the world wars, and world war is a reality. So even if everything is fragmented, let's celebrate that fragmentation. If even if everything is broken, let's make it a heap of broken images and celebrate it. So it is absurd. Postmodernism is celebrating that absurdity. It is accepting that absurdity. Okay, so we'll see certain features of postmodern era. Yeah. So, as I told you that modern age continued till the Second World War, and you know that after the Second World War, the age is called as postmodern age. But it differed a lot from modern era because of its anti-modernist attitude, because it was a reaction to the modernism. So let's start from the beginning, from where this idea of postmodernism emerged, from where it started coming up. So Britain was losing its power, as I told you, in the modernist era also. And now, since you have seen that in when the World War II happened, Britain has completely lost its power, and USA has become higher in the economy, and it is the center of the world now. So USA is having the highest authority now. It became the world power now. And people of Britain were constantly thinking that why did it happen? Like there were certain movements, and you have to read all those movements also, which came in literature in between. So there were movements such as Angry Young Man movement and all. So in that Angry Young Man movement, basically they started questioning this change. They wanted to know why this center has changed, why the center is Britain is not the center anymore, and why it happened. Because we were so busy in colonizing, and we were so busy in looting others, that we forgot our own existence, and we forgot that we also have one own country to rule. So these Angry Young Man movements, they all felt bad about the kind of position the country is in. And the second reason of it began that in the world war, you have seen that there was a lot of chaos. The world is fighting against each other. They are teaming up, ganging up against each other. And you also will see that a kind of a cold war began. Like earlier they were using artilleries or and all those ammunitions to destroy each other, but earlier as it was very upfront and bombastic, but now the cold war is to with a motive to destruct each other, to destroy each other. And it is basically with an aim to attack on the political, economic, and all other propagandas are being promoted, which was not only to destroy the army or to win over the army. It is now to completely eradicate the country. Like you have to make them suffer through all the ways. Like they are attacking on a certain country, on a country, they are ganging up against each other, and they are making them suffer for bread or for economy, if you can say, for politically. So everything is like now political, and they all are against each other. So there is a kind of a cold war, where they have a they are not limiting themselves to ammunitions and artilleries or to weapons, and now they are attacking on all other things. Like when I was reading one one text which I don't remember the name. It was Social History of England. So in that book, the writer has mentioned that to destroy other countries, they were not only using all those tactics politically and economically, but also they started they spreading their diseases to each other's country. Like certain disease, like if the plague is there in a country, they will go and travel to other countries with an aim, with a motive to spread it to the other country as well. And you can see the corona thing which happened. So it is also said to be again a kind of a cold war which is going on. So you cannot say that it was only during that time these things were happening that time, and till now it is happening. So you can see that how Britain and Soviet Union was sorry, USA and Soviet Union was against each other, and how they were throwing bombs on Nagasaki, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So everything is like with an aim to destroy, okay, with an aim to make themselves look powerful, and to other one to beg for their livelihood. Okay. Then at the same time, as the arrival of postmodern era, the post-colonial era also began. So basically when they were colonizing the England, England was colonizing other various other countries. So that was the colonial era. The period of colonization is termed as colonial era. But after the colonization ended, when the countries revolted against Great Britain, then the era of post colonialism began. So along with along with postmodernism, post colonialism is also beginning, in which they are realizing their true selves. They are realizing that they were promised so many things by these Britishers, but by this Great Britain had promised them that we will help you in development, we will help you in education, but all these were fake propagandas, and nothing like that happened. And in on the other hand, they just colonized them and just looted them. So the now the colonial those who were colonized, who were the Orients, they are now realizing their power, and they are revolting against the Britain. And then there was another change, in which that the Theatre Act of 1968 came, and there was a censorship on the theaters, and people were not allowed to publish anything without the consult of Lord Chamberlain's office, because Chamberlain's office was working as a censor board. And so Lord Chamberlain's office got removed. That ban on the theaters was removed. And today also we are going to talk about all those famous dramatists who came into play, and whose plays were like celebrating this aspect of postmodernism. Then as I have given you certain traits. Okay, so now no, you will see, like, if you see, if you want to know the traits of modernism, you can refer to Wasteland. If you want to see, like, look for the traits of postmodernism, go for Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot. So there they are two tramps. They are just so idiotic man who are standing there. They don't know what they are supposed to do. They are whole day waiting for somebody who never turns up. So they are just very simple, and somebody who is, we also will not ever never imagine ourselves to be on their position. Like, they are just tramps. They are just hedonist, and they don't know what they are doing, but they are doing something. Okay, so they are motiveless, they are ambitionless, they are having no roles, no goals in their mind. And the concept of heroism and patriotism is not at all working in their favor. So they are not represented as a heroic character, as earlier Don Juan and other, in the Arms and Men, the propaganda of heroism was promoted. So nobody is now talking about heroism or patriotism. You will not see any war poet having talking about the acceptance of war and bravery and solidarity towards country. So nobody is going to talk about that. And see, there is a kind of these developments which are happening. They are not only for our benefit, they are also turning up to be the cause of our destruction. So there is a kind of a sense of evil and fear regarding those nuclear destructions. As you have seen, when the bombs were thrown over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it has its effects till now. So they were really traumatized. They were really they were in a very pathetic condition, because they didn't know what will happen next, what will happen to their lives amidst this World War and Cold War. Then the people themselves started isolating themselves. There was a feeling of alienation within each other, which was caused due to this world war and all. But not only because of this world war, but because of the temperamental attitude which the people had in their mind. Because now there was a shift from social to the individual. Okay, now you are no longer a community. No longer they are talking about their region or their area. Only them, they are talking about themselves. Only they are the ones who are in the central role now. Okay, when you'll see Look Back in Anger, he is talking about the middle class people. Okay, Look Back in Anger, Jimmy is talking about middle class, but on the same hand, he is more concerned about his own life and how he has seen all those things which were not given to him because of this social differences. Okay, then you will not only see that there is only one kind of voice which is coming. You will like earlier what happened, only the dominant voices were heard. But postmodernism celebrates the multi voicedness. You will see Homi K Bhabha and Edward Said also talking about multi voicedness and polyphony. So every character has a certain role, has certain things to say, and has a role in the play. Okay, it's not that they are given mute, like a mute orientation. If you ask for the example, then see the role of Lucky is the name, right? In Waiting for Godot. So Lucky is a man who is mute. Okay, he is shown as he is a dumb man. He never speaks, but after wearing his hat, he starts thinking, and when he starts thinking, he starts speaking. So whatever he's speaking is completely gibberish. Okay, nobody understands what he's trying to say. But that's the thing which like the Samuel Beckett is trying to tell us, that those people who are marginalized, or those people who are really like when it comes to subaltern and all, so their voice is not being heard. Okay, so their voices not being heard, nobody is paying attention to their voices, or nobody paying attention to their concerns. So all these things got amalgamated, and it started becoming the postmodern drama, and it started popping up with a different themes. And these dramas became very much socially oriented. Okay, so it is no longer concerned about, like, if you are talking about uh, Jane Austen, so it is only concerned, it is also social novel, you can say, you can put this point that it is a social novel, but it is not about the merry-go-round, or about the happy-go-lucky girl who is only thinking about her marriage, but it is same time talking about the problems which the society is dealing with. Okay, so it is going to talk about all those aspects which were never talked before, like if you'll take example of Look Back in Anger, so Jimmy is positing all those aspects which he never did earlier. Like, no, he not he nobody ever did. Okay, so he is asking those questions, that why my father suffered so much while he was in hospital, because I was poor, that's why my father suffered a lot. If he given the condition, if he had so much money, his father would not have suffered that much and not have died like that. And the same thing happens when his friend's mother also suffers. So he says that there is no change from the time we are, like, I was a child, I was just a teenage boy, and to this, when I am a grown up man, there has been no change. Everybody is suffering. The people who are from the lower strata are suffering constantly. So what kind of change it is, like, if the government is propagating that we are trying to bring change, so that change is no longer there. Okay, and it also, that's what I was telling, that it is talking about the disillusionment with the welfare state. Like, they are propagating something, they are saying we will do this, we will bring change, but no change is there. And these writers are constantly showcasing the reality. Okay, then themes of gender and culture began, absurdism, as I told you, that they were thinking that if we are in a constant tussle with the life, if we are in a dilemmatic position, where we don't know what is right, what is wrong, so this is absurd, right? You are waiting for something to turn up, like even if you are waiting for God to come and solve your problems, you are just doing something very absurd. You don't know what the reality is, you don't know if there is God or not. So they are trying to showcase those realities, like people who were dying in the war, they were seeking help, they were asking for help. But even though there is advancement of medicine and all, but you will not see that God is coming up and saving the people. Rather than that, medicine is coming, and to some extent medicine is also not helpful. So what it is, the changes which are coming are also not helpful for you. Okay, then the drama of that time was inspired by various writers such as Antonin on Todd's concept of total theater, and these theater workshop were basically focusing upon the workings of on the stories of working class people. Okay, so these working class people stories were being represented during that time, and various types of plays emerged during that time. Various movements happened, about which we will talk today. So first of them is drawing room comedies. So the drawing room comedies was there since the Victorian period. And drawing room comedies is basically talking about the stories which are taking place in the drawing room of a house. So this basically, what does it mean? It is not that they are trying to show something obnoxious, yeah, or something which is not very unpleasant to be seen, something which is not allowed in public, but they are trying to remove all those superficial aspects. They are trying to deal with all those superficial aspects of life, those realities of life, what is happening in the life of people, what is the reality of people who are belonging from the working class and the lower class. Okay, so it is talking about those conditions with which these families are living with, and how they are constantly being challenged by the vices of the society. So these things will be talked about in drawing room comedies. It is not going to talk about very serious and deep concerns because it is comedies, so it is going to present it in a satirical way. Okay, and see, it is not so deep, it is not talking about all those things in a deeply manner. So that's why there was angry young man movement, which I told you, like, they were not very deep and not like in a satirical way. So angry young man will come, and angry young man will constantly, like, it will be very bold. Like, Jimmy is not afraid of anyone. He is bashing the society, he is bashing the upper class people and all those bourgeoisie who are like making the lives of working class as hell. Even her, his wife belongs to the bourgeoisie family or to the upper class, and he is ridiculing her also. So he is constantly like telling all those real stuff which were somewhere not told in the drawing room comedies, and in kitchen sink drama also came in reaction to it. And we'll see more about all these. So the first writer which I'm going to, and I have tried to arrange them in an chronological order. So because the questions are being asked constantly, so I have tried to arrange these writers in chronological order. So firstly we are going to talk about Noel Coward. Noel Coward is a very famous playwright who has written more than 50 plays, and he is famously known for his drawing room comedies. And he is like depicting the high class society, and how the high class society also has a lot of aspects which, like, which are to be questioned and which are to be always talked about. And his famous works are, like, I have highlighted them, but you need to know all these works. Okay, you need to know all these works, like, just know the names of these works. And amongst that, important one is Hay Fever. Hay Fever is also based on the comedy of manner, and comedy of manner is basically satirizing the way the people are reacting, the way the people are behaving. Okay, so those the way you are being conditioned by the society, those things are being questioned in the this work. And it is the story of a host who is uh, showing a very self-centered behavior in a party. And it is also talking about, as I told you, comedy of manners, and how the guests are not happy because of that attitude which the owner is giving them. Okay, then the next work is Blythe's Spirits. And Blythe's Spirits name has been said to be taken from Shelley's poem, very famous poem, To the Skylark. To the Skylark. And it is also said to be a supernatural story of Charles and his two wives, two ghost wives. Okay, so it is said to be a supernatural story, and the title is taken from To the Skylark by Shelley. And this has been asked in the exam once, so remember this. And vortex is also a bit important if you want to know, because it is based on the theme of sexuality. It is based on the theme of sexuality. Okay. The next writer I'm going to talk about is Terence Rattigan. These writers are not that important. Only these works, the name of these works are important, and the certain important aspects which I told you. His work Present Laughter is also based on Twelfth Night. Just remember this, that Present Laughter, Noel Coward's Present Laughter is based on Twelfth Night. Then the next writer is Terence Rattigan. And Terence Rattigan had one upper middle class background. He belonged to upper middle class, and that's why his works also have that similar setup in which upper middle class is being dealt with. So he wrote two famous works, and about the title of these works, the question has been asked. So, first one is Winslow Boy. Winslow Boy is a story of a boy named George Archer Shee. So it is a story of a boy named as George Archer Shee, and he was accused of stealing 5 shillings in the Edwardian era. And he gets because of that he gets expelled from his college, and his father starts fighting up with the court, and he goes and seeks like his seeks for absolving it, seeks for clearing it. So his father is fighting for clearing it. Okay. And you if you remember the story of the cloud or the wasp, I am forgetting the name, just check it once. It also has one similar story in which there is a father and the son is doing something wrong, and then the father is going to clear it up. So remember, it might be the cloud or the wasp. Okay. Then the second work is the Browning Vision. It is about a teacher named as Harris, and teacher is leaving the school. Okay, I have read this work. This is a good one. So there, the teacher is about to leave the school. He is about to shift somewhere else. He was a very strict teacher, very stern and very humorless. He was never friendly with students. Like some teachers are like that, right? They are quite serious in the class. They try to always talk about only the syllabus, and they don't involve much into the lives of students, and they don't like share a friendly bond with student. So he is a kind of teacher, and that's why all the people of the class starts disliking him and call him as crooked. But a student at the end of the class, and when he is about to leave, goes to him, and that boy is giving him Achilles play. Achilles play Agamemnon. Translation of Agamemnon. Okay. And when he gets to see the book, when he sees this book, there is a kind of heart change which suddenly occurs in the mind of the teacher, and he starts understanding of developing the bond between a student and a teacher. Then separate tables, table number 7, these are important work which you need to know the names of. Okay. His one more important work is French Without Tears. French Without Tears. Okay. French Without Tears. And you have to remember all these names in the same order. You don't need to remember the dates, but the names. Then the next writer is Christopher Fry. Christopher Fry, only the names of his works has been asked in the exam up till now, but I included them because they might ask you again. So just try to remember the works of him. And there is one important play, The Lady is Not for Burning. So The Lady is Not for Burning is about a soldier who wants to die, and a witch. She is basically not a witch but woman being portrayed as a witch, and the witch wants to live. So it is basically criticizing the ancient tradition of witch hunting. So this book is based on that. And the question was also asked that which story deals with a soldier who wants to live and which who wants to die. And the name of the book, Venus Observed, has been also asked in the exam. And The Lark by Christopher Fry has been adapted from Jean Anouilh's play. So remember this as well. Okay. Now we'll talk about some major writers of the era. Okay, before that, I will give you 1 minute break so that I can drink some water. And if you wanna ask something, you can. Okay. So John Osborne was born in 1929 and he died in 1994. And he is said to be a very famous writer who is famous for his association with the Angry Young Man movement. He is such a acclaimed writer, but he is said to have not received any college or university education, and he began to work as an actor and a writer. And he started writing along with one mentor named as Stella Linden, and along with the lady, she he wrote The Devil Inside Him. Okay. And his play named as The Personal Enemy is also in association with Anthony Crichton. So remember this, they might ask you. And he got Lifetime Achievement Award for the Writers Guild of Great Britain. And some trivial informations about him, which are not so trivial, because he married 5 times and all the marriages failed badly. So he is this relationship and the traumas which he felt during the period of his marriages with different women, he got to understand the psychology, and you will understand that psychology when we are discussing with Look Back in Anger. So the conflict in marriages, the class differentiation, the struggles of man and woman in a relationship, and how the misunderstandings and provocations happen in a relationship, all these things were inspired by his personal life, which we see in his masterpiece Look Back in Anger. Okay. After a serious liver crisis in 1987, he went on to become diabetic, and ultimately he died of that also. And there were some other issues with his health as well. And his two plays, named as A Patriot for Me and The Hotel in Amsterdam, won him English Standard Best Play. Okay. So his most successful work is Look Back in Anger, which was opened at Royal Court Theatre, London. And it is said to be associated with the angry young man movement. So, this whole while I have been talking about angry young man. So, what the movement was about? So, it began in 1950s by various novelists and playwrights who expressed their scorn and disaffection towards the established socio-political order of their country, like the state in which the country is in now, how the power shift has happened, how there is a paradigm shift, which is the center is USA now, no longer Britain is the center. So they have constantly this kind of scorn. They are not happy with the state in which their country is in. And they all are not like random people who are just so disillusioned and angry at their country, unlike our country where everybody is like कुछ भी होता है, it is because of the government. Anything happens, it is because of the government. So it is not like that. They were a breed of intellectuals who were mostly working class or lower middle class, but have been educated in the red brick universities. Red brick universities means those good universities which are ruling at the state's expenses. And these writers were not like, they did not accept this term as a label ki mera, that my name will be, our name will be, our group's name will be Angry Young Man. They disliked this label, but they were given this label because of the kinds of work they wrote. And these works basically were irreverence, stridency, impatience with the tradition. They are talking about the vulgarity, the sulky resentment which is there in the society, and they are talking against it. Okay, there is a kind of a sense of betrayal and futility which is generated by the post-war reforms, and they are constantly criticizing it. They are showing their dissatisfaction with the traditional politics, education, and literature, and they are asking for change. So basically, it is a movement which is asking for revolution. It is a radical group which is asking for change. And the initial members were John Osborne and Kingsley Amis, and other members were later on added. And trust me, this was a question in the exam about the members of this group, so you have to know all these names. So the writers such as Harold Pinter, Philip Larkin, John Wayne, Alan Silito, John Brain, and John Arden, and their important Angry Young Man, the books which are based on Angry Young Man movement, have been asked in the exam. Even once they were asking match the column, like they gave on one hand the names of the writers who are associated with Angry Young Men, and on the other hand they wrote the names of the books written by them. So the John Brain, Alan Sidito, John Wayne, and Kingsley Amis and John Osborne was there in the list. So let's talk about Look Back in Anger. I tell this story to everyone, to like my previous students also, that in my when I was giving my MA entrance for BHU, so in the exam they had asked about the date of the the date on which the play opened in theaters. Okay, in the exam they had given this question. Me being over smart, I just read these years, like 1956, 19, and this work was prescribed in my syllabi. Okay, that's why I knew the year. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known that also at that time. So I went to the entrance, and this question was given there, and the options were 8th May, 8th April, 8th June, and 8th July. 1956, 1956, 1956, 1956. I only knew 1956 and I marked it 8th April 1956. But it is not so. It is 8th May 1956. Okay? And I have mentioned it here. See, you have to remember these little details of these magnanimous works. Okay? So, John Osborne. We talked about him. We talked a lot about Angry Young Man movement. Let's talk about the summary of Look Back in Anger. So basically, it is a story of a man who belongs to the working class. His name is Jimmy Porter. He is quite well read. He is quite understanding. He knows everything. He is well aware, you can say. Okay, but due to all those things which are happening during that time in the country, or due to that sudden radical changes which are happening in his life, he has grown he has grown a kind of distaste or dislike towards the upper class people. He falls in love with a lady named as Allison, who belongs to the upper middle class, and he goes on to marry her. And then what happens that when they are living in one single room, along with one friend of Jimmy named as Cliff. Okay, somebody saying something. Okay,
No,
along
ma'am.
okay along with Cliff. So they are living along with Cliff, Allison, and Jimmy. Three people are living in one bedroom kitchen house. So, drawing room comedy basically depicted the reality. So it is showing, the scene is set like he is turning up the paper and reading the paper, and Allison is constantly ironing and making things look better. See, and Jimmy is constantly so much frustrated that he is saying something or the other, and like using provocative words towards Allison. And you know what happens when you're angry at someone, you are yelling at someone, you are like rebuking someone, and when somebody doesn't respond to it, you feel like more anguished and more irritated, right? You feel more defiant at that time. So what is happening with Jimmy, that he is like representing the constant struggle of middle class people or the lower class people, working class people, who are constantly asking for their rights or their stuff, but nobody is responding to them, just like Allison is not responding. So this tussle is growing somehow, and when Allison comes and tells that her friend Helena will be visiting them for a day or two, so Jimmy starts getting angry at it. So Jimmy starts feeling that we like our privacy will be not maintained, and your friend Helena is a snobbish woman, and she doesn't like me and I don't like her. Why are you calling her? But somehow he agrees and Helena comes. Okay. So when Helena comes, Allison tells her about the relationship and the reality between the relationship of Jimmy and Allison, and she tells her that she is going through this tussle, and the relation is going through a rough patch, and amidst all that she is pregnant. So when Helena comes to know about this, Helena goes and calls Allison's father, Colonel Redfern, and Colonel Redfern comes to pick Allison from there. Jimmy doesn't know that Allison is pregnant, and Jimmy is very much in anger by the news that Allison is leaving and leaving him forever. He goes and says that I'm struggling so much, and I want the way I am suffering, I want you to suffer. I want your son, your child to die, so that you can feel the pain which I am having. And you know, somehow this pain is not only because of his dissatisfaction with the society or the failures which he has faced, also because of the constant failures of relationship which he has seen in his life. So all this has amalgamated, and that's why he is constantly rebuking Allison, and he is frustrated. So Allison goes away, and Helena comes to tell Jimmy that she is pregnant. And Jimmy starts a kind of like, he feels as if he is very helpless, and he could not help Allison when she needed him, and because of his defiant attitude, he could not help her. So he starts questioning and arguing with Helena, and Helena firstly slaps him, and later on, to reconcile, she kisses him passionately. Here you will see that Helena has taken place of Allison, and Helena is ironing, and Cliff is there, and on this next Sunday, and Jimmy is again reading the newspaper. But what happens at that time only, Allison's child dies, okay, and Allison starts to feel the way Jimmy was feeling, and Allison comes to realize about the tussle which Jimmy is going through in his mind, and she comes back to Jimmy, and she tries to reconcile and tell everything. And here Jimmy also understands that his anger is towards something else. His anger is not towards his beloved wife, whom he loved dearly, and with whom he played this game of bear and squirrel. So then Jimmy is realizing the situation and trying to console Allison, because somehow now they are at the same strata. Not because she is from upper middle class, not because he is lower middle class, but they both have pain in their heart, right? So they are equal now, and Jimmy starts understanding Allison. So this work is said to be autobiographical because it has autobiographical evidences about his Osborne's unhappy marriage with the actress Pamela Lane. And this work is said to be sorry, this work is said to be the finest example of angry young man movement, and as well as in kitchen sink drama. This work also has one sequel named as Deja Vu. I have written it here. Deja Vu. Deja vu means when you feel something similar to this has happened previously in your life. So it is about the story of Jimmy Porter, who is living in his middle age along with his daughter, whose name is Allison. Okay, so it is about the story of father and daughter. Now, remember this. I have told you enough about kitchen sink drama. Just remember this, that kitchen sink drama was a term coined by David Sylvester. Some important works of this writer is Entertainer. Entertainer is a three-act play, and it was written on the request of Lawrence Oliver. Okay, and the story is of a man named as Archie Rice, and Archie Rice is a falling music hall performer, which represents the fall in decline of nation's vitality. Okay, so it represents the fall in of decline in nature's vitality. Then the next work is Luther. Luther is depicting the life of Martin Luther in three acts, and it won the Tony Award for the best play in 1964. Okay, so this is about John Osborne. This was about John Osborne. Now let's come to Martin Amis. Martin Amis is another writer who is very famous for kitchen sink, and as well, not kitchen sink, but for angry young man movement. So, and Martin Amis is said to be the father of his father is Kingsley Amis. Okay, so Kingsley Amis is also a writer which we are going to talk about in the upcoming lectures. Kingsley Amis. Just wait for a sec, no? I'm 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 really sorry. I just by mistake I typed it here Martin Amis. I'm talking about Kingsley Amis. Okay, so I'm talking about Kingsley Amis. I have written here, but oh, I have to go back. So I'm talking about Kingsley Amis, and his father Martin Amis is not that famous, but he is because he wrote a few works named as Money, London Fears, and Experience. Okay, so, those are the few works which are important when it comes to Martin Amis. Money subtitle was asked in some exam. I remember it is the subtitle of Money is a suicide note. So I am going to talk about Kingsley Amis. Okay, remember this. I'm going to talk about Kingsley Amis, who is the son of like famous, you can say, British novelist Martin Amis, who has written one work named as Money, subtitle as Suicide Note. Okay. So now Kingsley Amis was born in 1922 and he died in 1995, and he was a part of the movement. Okay, he was a movement poet, and he also belonged to the angry young man movement. He used one pseudonym to write his works, named as Robert Markham. Robert Markham, it is not given in the slide, so write it down. Robert Markham, Markham. He used the pseudonym Robert Markham, and they ask about the pseudonyms as well. So Martin Amis is said to have been shortlisted for Man Booker Prize thrice, and he ended up winning it once for the Old Devils. Okay, so old for the Old Devils, he won the Booker Prize in 1986 itself. Kingsley Amis is said to have written campus novels. What are the campus novels? Novels which are basically set around a campus or a university. Okay, it is against the class fiction. So it is basically talking about a campus or a university. The campus of a university is the setting, and around it the story is being set. And there are writers such as Malcolm Bradbury, David Lodge, Tom Sharp, and Howard Jacobson, who have also contributed to campus novel. Okay, so now his famous work is Lucky Jim. Lucky Jim is said to be a novel by Amis, and it was published in 1954 by Victor Golkans, and it is the first novel by him which was published, and it also won the Somerset Maugham Award. Okay, now let's talk about the summary. So this work, Lucky Jim, is about a man named Jim Dixon, who is a lecturer at an unnamed university, and he is a very not very conventional teacher, like the ones who are really interested in giving lectures and uh, in taking classes and trying to live a simple life. But he wants something extra in his life. He wants upliftment. Okay, so he wants promotion, and to get promotion he is starting to like get into the relationship with the daughter-in-law, you can say, supposed daughter-in-law of his own senior, and her name is Christine Callaghan. And when he is having those that relationship, he is trying to break the norms of a teacher, and how he is presenting himself, like he is supposed to give a lecture, and before giving that lecture he drinks a lot of alcohol, And when he goes on to give that lecture, he starts saying something rubbish, and then he falls at the stage. And he is smoking cigar, and he goes into a party, he is smoking cigar in the bedroom of the owner. And there he is leaving that cigar, that burning cigar on the bed, and there is fire all around. So he is not a conventional man. He is against, again, as a common aspect of angry young man, that he is trying to break the norms and to go against it. Okay. So at the end, you will see how he gets one uprising, and he gets upliftment by getting promotion, and he is trying to break way out through his working class community, and he doesn't want to belong through it. Okay, so he wants to constantly eradicate that aspect, that he belongs to a working class background. Then the next work by him, which won Booker Prize, is Old Devils, The Old Devils, which was published in 1986, and it is said to be it is said to be a work which is about a man named Alan Weaver, and who is a writer of he is it is talking about a story of a man named Alan Weaver, who is he is having a problematic relationship with his within his own family, and he is a writer of modest celebrity returns to his native Wales with his wife Rehan. And sometimes the girlfriend of Alan Weaver is also coming to meet him, and then he is having relationship with the girlfriend also, and he is constantly confused that with whom he should proceed with the relationship. Then one another novel by him is Uncertain Feeling. Just know the name, Uncertain Feeling. And you cannot do the both. You can't do the both. You can't do the both. So the title of these works are important. Remember this. And apart from that, Lucky Jim is important. Next writer, which again belongs to the angry young men movement, is Alan Silito. Alan Silito's, see, I have written all those writers' name here, which I saw in the match the following column. So Alan Silito is said to be famous for Saturday Night and Sunday Morning and Loneliness of a Long Distance Runner. So loneliness of a long distance runner is quite important, because it is a story of a man named as Colin Smith, who is a poor Nottingham teenager, and he is he is being sent to jail for very minute mistakes which he has made, minute crimes which he had done. And do you remember the story of Jean Valjean, in which he is also being sent to jail just for stealing a loaf of bread? So in the similar manner, this story has also been written. So this writer, this person, Colin, is sent to jail, and from there he wants to escape from that jail, or from the he is under he is like, you can say, he is somewhere trapped under a very brutal man, and he wants to get away from that. But he is offered release on a condition that there is going to be organized a precious cross country race, and Colin has to run in it. But Colin initially agrees and goes to that race. But after going and running after a few, like running for a few minutes, he just says, "I won't run for you, because you were making my life hell, and now you want to use me. I won't do that." Like similarly in Jane Eyre's, when Jane Eyre was Jane Eyre was sent to that hostel where Brocklehurst is the owner, and if Brocklehurst asked Jane Eyre to do certain things, will Jane Eyre do that? Because Brocklehurst has been really brutal with Jane Eyre. So These men are realizing their real tendencies and their reality, their personality, and they are rising against it. Then another other angry young men writers are John Wayne, who wrote Strike, Father, Death, and Hurry on Down is a very important picaresque novel by him. So Hurry on Down is important. Then John Brain has written Room at the Top. So Room at the Top is also important. Just know the name. Now let's talk about this writer Arnold Wesker. Arnold Wesker is was born in 1932, and he is said to be educated in the East End of London, and he has seen the poverty and criminality of London and the area, like a lot, that it is successful in he is successful in showcasing them in his works. So this writer is only important for his trilogy, which is about a man named as Ronnie Khan. So Ronnie Khan is the protagonist of the trilogy which he has written. Trilogy is basically three sets of books, okay, and they might be on the similar story or on different stories, but this one has similar protagonist in all these three stories. So the chicken soup with barley, Roots, and I'm talking about Jerusalem. So remember the names. It might be asked in the exam. And then his other works are The Kitchen and The Chips with Everything. So Chips with Everything is depicting his experience with the Royal Air Force, and you might call it important, somewhat important, not very much important. Chicken soup with barley. Chicken soup with barley is said to be the first work under the trilogy. So that it is about a Jewish community. It is about Jewish community and a Khan family, and it is talking about the downfall of the ideas in the changing world and how the disintegration of family is happening. So the protagonists are the protagonist's life is being depicted, and Ronnie's life is basically being depicted, how he is struggling to maintain their convictions in the face of World War II and Stalinism, and at the same time Hungarian Revolution is also going on. Like in the like in the I'm talking with Jerusalem, it is there is a mention of Jerusalem and how the family is shifting towards Jerusalem, uh, being in a tough situation with the country and world war and Stalinism. They are moving towards Jerusalem, and like remember and see, the name of the trilogy is said to be Vesker's trilogy. So if in the exam they ask you about Vesker's trilogy, you have to name these three: chicken soup with barley, Roots, and I'm talking about Jerusalem. Then Shellac Delaney, the only famous work by her is A Taste of Honey, and remember the name. And it is also written as a response to Terence Rattigan. Terence Rattigan has like we dealt with Terence Rattigan, and his themes were basically homosexuals, but he talked about homosexuals in quite a insensitive manner, which was the claim of Shellac Delaney, and that's why Shellac Delaney has written one response to it. So this book is also dealing with homosexuality. Okay, now I'll stop over here, and in the next class I'll talk about major other writers such as Harold Pinter, Beckett. Okay, so